Well, hello sisters, Donna Partow here, welcoming you to day 4 of Hope Again, our study of becoming a vessel of God's power. And today I want to talk about getting into alignment with God's purposes. Of course we perceive God's grand purpose in His Word, but there's a customized plan and purpose for each of our lives. And I found in my own walk that one of the best ways to get in touch with God's purpose and to get in alignment with God's plan for our life is through fasting. Did I just say a bad word? Fast? It's a 4-letter word. In the church, nobody wants to talk about fasting because it would mean giving up our other favorite 4-letter word, food. In fact, the last time I did an extended fast, God spoke to my heart and said, Donna, there are 2 things standing in the way of my women in North America becoming who they really want to be. And do you know what those 2 things were? Our love affair with food and idle chit-chat. So maybe I'll say more about idle chit-chat, but today I want to talk about our love affair with food. Sisters, I'm going to be very bold. If you are not fasting on a routine basis, if you don't fast, let's say once a week, if you don't routinely do extended fasts, you have an issue with food. You have an issue with food. Now some of you are going to say, oh, but I have medical problems and my doctor doesn't want me to. Well, maybe that's true. There are some people who perhaps can't fast. But if you read people like Don Colbert, who's a Christian physician, you may discover that fasting is far more beneficial than most mainstream doctors believe. But anyway, I'm on a tangent there because I know that even physically it's good for you. But my focus today is on the power spiritually that is found in fasting. What it does is it clears away the draw of this world. It quiets the noise, because so much of our life we're, what am I going to eat next? I'm hungry, I'm not hungry, and I've got to get breakfast, got to get lunch, got to get dinner. It really is, it keeps us busy, especially in North America. And so it quiets our mind, it quiets our heart, it clears our schedule, and really enables us to focus in on the purposes of God in our life. I just jotted down a few examples from Scripture. Moses fasted 40 days and received the 10 Commandments from God. Esther was in a hopeless situation. Her husband had decreed the slaughter of her entire family, the Jewish people. She fasted 3 days and invited others to stand with her in that fast, and God turned the heart of her husband. We often hear proclaimed Joel chapter 2, where it talks about how in the last days God will pour out His Spirit on all flesh and all these great things are going to happen. But earlier in that chapter, the assignment that God gives, He says, proclaim a fast and a sacred assembly, and afterwards I'll pour out my Spirit. Interesting. So maybe if we want more of God's power, calling a sacred assembly. I do believe in the power of corporate fasting. Again, something that's been largely lost on the church in North America. We've been so snookered into this idea that, fasting is a big secret. Don't tell anyone when you fast. And we've taken it to such an extreme. How did the people of God have corporate fasts if no one knew when anyone else was fasting? The devil has snookered us. There's power in corporate fasting. Another famous example is King Jehoshaphat. And you remember in 2 Chronicles, let me read this to you, 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verse 3. Well, it tells us, first of all, that a vast army is coming against God's people, and they're so outnumbered that the situation in the natural is completely hopeless. But then it says in verse 3, alarmed, Jehoshaphat resolved to inquire of the Lord. See, he wanted to get into alignment with the purposes of God here. He proclaimed a fast for all Judah. So I guess people knew that he was fasting, right? The people of Judah came together to seek help from the Lord. Indeed, they came from every town in Judah to seek Him. How did they seek Him? Through fasting. It's a powerful tool. Paul was fasting for 3 days in between the Damascus Road encounter, where he got knocked off his horse, and his actually receiving the assignment from God through the words of Ananias. He was fasting for 3 days. Do you know that Peter may very well have been fasting up there on that roof, because it says that he became very, very hungry. He may have been fasting when he received the revelation to take the gospel to the Gentiles. Sisters, If we want to experience the power of God, if we want a breakthrough in our marriage, in the lives of our children, if we want a breakthrough in our health, in our finances, maybe a breakthrough in our church, our community, if we want to see a breakthrough in this nation, I believe that fasting is one of the most powerful tools that God has provided. We can hope again, sisters, when we get in alignment with the purposes of God. And how do we discern that? Through prayer and, yes, through fasting. So that's my encouragement, my admonition to you today. And I hope that brings you hope, that you can hear from God. I'll talk to you tomorrow.